How do everybody? I've just wanted to do an update on the chemical attack story. Well, it's actually an alkali attack story, but people like to call these sorts of things chemical attacks. It's just, I don't know, it's colloquialism, I guess, for it. But anyway, so the attack that was committed by the now confirmed pervert Abdul Shakur Azidi. Now, I called him a pervert simply because the Crown Prosecution Service have confirmed that in January of 2018, he was sentenced at Newcastle Crown Court after pleading guilty to two separate crimes, one being of sexual assault and the other one for exposing himself. He didn't get much of a sentence, to be honest with you. I think 9 weeks for the first one, 36 weeks for the second one. Both sentences to be served consecutively, which I believe means that they overlap. So it's not 9 weeks on top of 30 weeks. It's both sentences start at the same time. I don't get why they do that. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think they should do them back to back personally. But hey ho, I'm not a judge. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not in politics. I can't change that. But he did get 2 years suspended sentence on top of that, which means that he would have gone back to prison if he had done anything else. So yes, the man is a confirmed pervert, and I believe that at that time as well, he was still going through his appeals processes for claiming asylum. I would really like to know how this man is still in the country at this point after that happening. And I do believe that it should be a zero tolerance policy on people committing crimes, and I don't care why they're over here. I don't care about the human rights claims that they're making. It's a case of, look, you break the law, you're gone, bye-bye. I will do a story later on about a BBC reporter who's helped multiple Somalians, or an ex-BBC editor, one of those had committed some very serious crimes, but this person managed to get the criminal prevented from being deported because he had tattoos on his arms, and he said he would have been labelled as homosexual and therefore would have been persecuted back in Somalia. I don't care. He's done that to himself. I don't think that's actually true anyway, but he's done that to himself anyway. So if you don't want to get deported, how about you behave yourself? But anyway, carrying on with this story. So not only was this man twice failed asylum claimant when he had his final attempt, he then claimed to have converted to Christianity, something that I highly doubt is actually sincere and true. This being Abdul Shakur Azidi now, by the way, just to confirm that for you. But I do believe that it is instead a tactic that's being used to undermine the asylum process, and I believe that this is happening a lot more often than what most people realise. For example, the failed Liverpool bomber who tried to do a suicide attempt on Remembrance Sunday 2 years ago, I think that was now, 2022, I think that was, off the top of my head. But he instead blew himself up outside the maternity unit. Now, at the time, people thought, because it happened on Remembrance Sunday, that this attack was going to be for the service itself, because the times happened to overlap with when the service was happening at Liverpool Cathedral. But police, during the investigation, have found absolutely zero evidence whatsoever that that man wanted to blow up the service, but instead was actually targeting the maternity unit itself. So he was actually aiming to kill babies and new mothers. And that is something I believe but I do believe he chose that day because it was on Remembrance Sunday, so I do believe he was trying to kill two birds with one stone. Now, I have no evidence to back that up. That is purely my own hypothesis, simply based off my own gut feeling, and I think that's probably the best we'll ever get with that, but I do believe that to be true. So anyway, I'll carry on in a minute with that, but with that attack anyway, I believe the taxi driver was very vigilant and locked him in the taxi, and the device that he had was poorly made and went off inside the taxi. And rather than blowing up, it was full of ball bearings and things like that, but rather than blowing up, it sort of burst into flames instead. But I guess that's one of those wonderful engineers that we keep being told that we're told about, where he has obviously engineered that device from scratch and from buying certain items from shops and things like that. So let us never forget that we do need these people, because they really do enrich us with their culture. But the police in that investigation as well did find things like Islamic prayer mats and I think a copy of the Quran at his home. But again, that man had converted to Christianity. He'd been failed multiple times as well, but he was in his final process. So in this case is eerily similar with the other case, in that both men had entered the country from Islamic nations. Both men have had multiple failed asylum claims, and both men claim to have converted to Christianity to circumnavigate the system. The only difference being was that Abdul Azidi had been accepted, whilst Emad Al-Selmeen was still awaiting the final decision before attempting to blow up the maternity unit. So this being a similar attack to the one in 2017 of the Manchester Arena bombing as well, after the Ariana Grande concert, where Salman Abedi blew himself up. And we must also remember that was to attack young people as well. Now, going back to the Liverpool bomber, he is believed to have done that attack because he kept getting rejected for asylum. I don't necessarily believe that, but the police have got to go with their best lead, and with what the evidence that they found, that is the best reason that they can come up with. I do think the man was an Islamist. Not a very Christian thing to do, blowing yourself up or blowing up a maternity unit, and also keeping copies of the Quran and Islamic prayer mats. Says to me that he wasn't actually a Christian. And he was still going through his final process as well, so he hadn't been rejected and he was still appealing. And more likely than not, he would have carried on appealing it. And as we know from many, many other cases, even when people are supposed to be getting deported, like with the grooming gangs, they don't leave. They end up staying here, and they come up with all sorts of other reasons to say. So I do believe that it was an Islamist attack. To be fair and balanced, though, to Salman, he was born in the UK. However, I do not consider him to be British. I don't think that's simply because you're born in Britain that we have magic soil that suddenly makes you a British person. I do believe it's more than just a passport and a birth certificate. For those of you who are saying, who am I to say that? I was born in Germany, just to be very clear. However, I do not consider myself to be German in any way, shape or form, and I do not consider myself to be a German citizen. I don't believe that simply being born somewhere makes you a part of that place. I am English, with a capital E and a full stop after it, period. That's it. I am English. And it doesn't matter that I was born in Germany. And I extend that courtesy to other people as well. Being from somewhere and being of somewhere are not the same thing. And belonging to somewhere, again, these people have not conducted themselves in what I would call a British manner. Suicide bombings is not a British thing to do. It absolutely is not. And same with these grooming gangs as well. Absolutely disgusting. But he was, in my opinion, a foreign terrorist, and he'd gone to Libya to fight in the conflict there. He'd also grown up in an Islamist family, so his parents were, I think they were refugees who came to the UK from Libya. Now Salman Abedi went over to Libya, and then he tried to smuggle himself back into Europe and back into the UK, and he was actually picked up on a boat and then brought back to the UK as well. So in a weird way, he's not actually that different from the other two either. You know, it's just absolutely mind-boggling. And these people really, rather than being British, are actually part of an occupying and an invading force. And I do believe there are areas of the UK that are occupied areas. And that doesn't mean everybody who is part of those communities is necessarily an occupier either. Just be very clear. But I do believe that genuine refugees and the whole concept around it is being usurped by people who want to invade and want to take over the United Kingdom and other countries in the West as well. Although I've got to be clear as well, that is just my opinion of him. Now, I do have this opinion of him and others like him formulated by their actions. You know, so I'm not just saying this because they look different. I'm not just saying it because they've got different skin colour or they've got a name that's totally different to mine or that they have a different religion to mine. This is my opinions of these groups of people are purely being formed on the way that they are conducting themselves and the way that they are carrying out these sorts of atrocities. Now, it is easy for me to sit here and to complain. You know, anyone can do that. So what should be done about this? Well, to me, the answer is a simple one, and that is deport, deport, deport. It's as simple as that. There was multiple opportunities to remove all three of these individuals, but our legal system prevents it. So a further objective must also be holding to account of those that allow these vile individuals into our country. We must stop putting the rights of these dangerous individuals before our rights, and also to stop the appeals until approved process, as we've seen multiple times with these people. And even when they are rejected at the final hurdle, they then come up with some other BS excuse to stay in because of their human rights. So they don't even get in based on on asylum or anything like that. It all becomes then a human rights aspect. And then a totally different system plays in. It should just be a case of no, you come on. One shot is all anyone should get with this as well. So, and they shouldn't be able to get advice, and they shouldn't get because the problem is that when these people are getting this advice and they're getting these, and we've seen it with these lawyers who a lot of the time tend to be made from particular communities as well, and they I think the lawyers and even judges actually, I've done a story on that as well, where these people from these communities are actually undermining our entire legal system ourselves for their own agendas, and we've got to accept that these people and their ideas and their ideologies aren't aligned with what you would call that of the British traditional British ideology and ideals and values, and they are trying to take over, because a lot of these people are very tribal in nature, and some of them are doing it for historical vengeance as well. That also needs to be something that has to be started considered and accepted as something that's happening. You know, they look at things like I don't know, the British Raj or something like that, and they are wanting revenge for that. So they also need to be asking these people questions on the cultural compatibility, because we need to find out if these people, even if they are a refugee and a genuine one at that, doesn't mean that they are a good fit for our society. And that just because somebody's a refugee doesn't mean they're also a good person, and doesn't mean that they're not going to go on to commit serious crimes in this country. You know, so we've got to stop just saying because this person is a genuine refugee fleeing for genuine reasons that they are necessarily not going to become a major problem to our society and our people as well. You know, and we do have to put ourselves first, because how can we help the rest of the world if our country gets destroyed and gets dragged into a civil war? We are going to get to a position where we are incapable of helping other people around the world because we've destroyed ourselves from within. We've gone past 10 minutes now. I'm going to leave it at that. I'll put links below to everything. If I forget to put, because I've mentioned quite a few different things here, if I forget to put any links in, put me a comment in and just let me know, and I'll add it to the description. If you have enjoyed that, please like, subscribe, and just generally put a comment below. You know, I love reading people's comments, and I love replying to them whether you agree with me or if you don't. Thank you. Have a good day. Goodbye.